Holiday Fitness Challenge. My name is Kevin Miles. I am very excited to be doing this for you and glad that you are watching this. I wanted to do something like this for a while simply because I've seen the necessity of it for people. And I've mentioned before, this time of year can be a challenge to anyone's fitness goals, really, because there's so many different moving parts. And most people typically gain 60 to 80% of the weight that they gain for the entire year during these final few months, pretty much from Halloween on to the end of the year and right to the first of the year, New Year's Day, and all of that. And there's a reason for that. And if we look at it, if you look at the first of the year, typically people are kicked in with New Year's resolutions, and that's a big push in the fitness industry. And a lot of people say, I'm going to go on a program, I'm going to lose some weight. And a lot of times those New Year's resolutions don't last very long, but it's not a period of time where people gain weight. A lot of times that's when they actually lose weight, but mostly what they're losing is the weight that they've gained from the holiday season. And so they're just kind of getting back to baseline. And when you push past that point where they start to tail off and they get into the springtime again, and the days start getting a little bit longer and the weather gets a little bit warmer, and they're starting to remotivate. And so that's a time where people can get back into it and get some positive results with fitness. And so that quarter of the year isn't a bad time for people to typically gain a lot of weight. And then it pushes into summer and more outside activities. The days are longer. It's easier to be fit. People are less likely to overeat and they have more healthy options to eat as far as fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, those types of things. And so those 3 quarters of the year, people do a pretty good job, generally speaking, in terms of managing their weight to the people in terms of the people that want to. This time of year is tougher because it's darker earlier, it's colder earlier, and daylight saving times has something to do with that. We're tending to wear more clothes. We have less options in terms of doing things outside. You get home from work now, and that after dinner walk you wanted to take that was easy to take in the summertime. Now it's cold and it's dark or it's rainy and you don't want to go. And there's more comfort foods around. Our bodies are typically colder, and eating actually has a thermic effect, so it warms us up. And then just the season itself in terms of the holidays and the meals around that and the food items that are more readily available this time of year, that are just popping up at your work or popping up, you know, at your house or your home or events that you're going to that you don't always see. So it makes it easier to fall off the wagon. And you'll have a lot of help falling off the wagon because misery loves company. And a lot of people around you will be encouraging you to do those things because they're going to do it as well. So, like, you know, sometimes your best friend can be your worst enemy as far as that. Like, you have some friends will be supportive to what you're doing. Others are like, well, if I'm going to gain 15 pounds, you're going to gain 15 pounds. And you may see that as well. So, they will encourage you. They'll bake cookies and bring some for you. They'll bring in some stuff for work that they may know you're on a fitness program, but like they're not starting theirs till now, or it's not a priority for them. So it's just a time of year where it's more of a challenge. We have different schedules with our school or work. A lot of times if you have kids, they're out of school, so now you're managing what their schedule is, and it may throw what you're typically doing off. There's sometimes travel involved and you don't have, especially if you're traveling, you don't have maybe your normal meals available. So this time of year, you can see why it can be a problem for people. So if you gain 10 pounds extra in a year, 6 to 8 of those pounds is going to happen like right now, this next 6 week period of time. And that's no fun. So if you're aware of that, then you have a greater ability to control that. So a lot of it starts with awareness. And awareness is key to having some kind of control. So, what I would ask you to do is ask yourself, what do you want to accomplish over the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and beyond? Have some kind of goal. Your goal is your goal. It doesn't have to be the same as anyone else's goal. Your goal could be, you know what? I just don't want to gain as much weight as I usually gain during this time of year. Or I don't want to gain any weight. I want to stay the same as I normally stay. Or I want to actually lose some weight during this period of time and make some progress and kick off and go into the year better than I ever was. Or your goal could be, forget that. I'm trying to build muscle and this is a great time for me to put on size and I'm doing a bulk. So I want to, use these extra calories and actually put on some lean mass and work towards that. Whatever your goal is, that's your goal, but you want to have some kind of idea what it really is. That's your map. That's your direction. That's your destination. If you're going to drive somewhere, you're going to need to know where it is you're trying to go, or else you're just going to not wind up anywhere you want to be. And so plan that. Ask yourself, what's been your problems in the past? Has it been missing workouts? Because of your schedule's off. So maybe your goal is I want to make sure I stay on track with my workouts. Has it been gaining weight? So then you want to have a weight goal. If it's just been staying consistent, whatever it is, look at your past issues or look at what you want to accomplish and identify that and have that be your goal. And then ask yourself why. Why is important to you? And if you have a strong why, you're more likely to take the steps that you need to take to make the changes and go in the direction that you want to go in. I created this course called The Seven Solutions for Fitness Transformation, and it's actually in this group in the classroom. The full course is in there. You can access at any time. And these are things I learned over decades of doing this, coaching people, working with great trainers, coaching people for shows, coaching people that are just getting started with fitness. And what I found is more often than not, it's not the information, the X's and the O's, the training and nutrition part that keep people stuck. It's a couple of other things that they need to have. And I mentioned this before. You have to understand how important you are and treat yourself as such and prioritize yourself that way. If you see yourself as important as you are, then you will make the changes and take the steps to get the results you want. If you don't understand your own importance, if you don't prioritize yourself, then you won't make those changes. You won't fix those meals. You won't make the time to work out. You won't put yourself first. And that's so huge. We've been taught to not emphasize ourselves. We've been beat down by society or whomever to not see ourselves as amazing as we are, as amazing as you are. And you have to learn to start to do that, to prioritize yourself and prioritize you first. And then that's going to reflect on everything and everyone else you care about. If you don't take care of yourself and you start to deteriorate, that's going to negatively affect your relationships, your health, your job, anything else that you care about. Because you're not going to be able to show up. You're not going to have the energy. You're not going to have the attention span. You're not going to have the longevity. You're not going to have the capability. And so you need to focus on yourself. So give yourself permission to put yourself first. That's part of the why. The other part of the why is understanding how important fitness is and all the things that it can do for you beyond what you look like. Yeah, it's an easy attraction to have, oh, I want to look like this. Oh, I want to lose this weight. I want to fit into this suit or that dress or whatever it is. And that can be fine initially, but more often than not, those visual goals are not enough to keep you going and sometimes not enough to start you. There's more to fitness that you get out of it than you realize. And especially if you've never been fit, in terms of how you feel and how much energy you have and the relaxation and the calm and the stress relief and the mobility and the functionality and the strength and the health and everything that you get from fitness. You won't know it until you actually lived it and experienced it. And understanding the importance of fitness is difficult to do until you lose it or until you see someone else that's lost it. And as I've gotten older, I'm 66 now, and I see that around me. I see people my age or even younger that don't have that fitness and that don't have that health. You can see the impact that it can have on their life, and you don't want to get there any sooner than you need to. There's a statement called "Father Time is undefeated," and we're all going to age. We're all going to get to the point where maybe we can't do or be what we want, but we want to push that off as far as possible. And there's a place I call the vanishing point, where you get to a point where you can't do what you want to do or need to do to keep yourself fit and healthy. And that vanishing point can happen decades sooner than it actually should if you don't take care of yourself. And so fitness isn't just about running faster or jumping higher or deeper abs or whatever. It's really about so many other things that your body can benefit from and that your body will thrive at having if you take care of it. So if you prioritize and understand how important fitness is, and if you prioritize and understand how important you are, then you're going to build the why that's going to allow you to take the steps to go in the direction that you want to go in. And so, understanding that, having that reason of why you're doing this and what you're trying to accomplish, and then having that understanding of how important you are and how important fitness are, those are huge factors. And the next thing I put behind that, and this is when I did that 7 Solutions course, these were the first 3 modules that I did, is the mindset that you have. The mindset of, "I'm going to do this." The mindset of, "I can do this." That mental state that you put yourself in, that's going to get rid of your excuses, take care of your limiting beliefs, and allow you to take the steps that you need to take to move in the direction that you wanna go in. And that's huge. Without that mindset, you're just going to have a failure to launch. You can have all the best information in the world. You can have the best diet in the world. You can have the best training program in the world. You can have the best trainer in the world. You can have the best group exercise classes available to you, the best gym available to you. If you don't have the right mindset of, "I'm going to do this because I need to do this, because I want to do this, because I'm important enough, because fitness is important enough," then 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna do it. And so you have to look at that part of yourself. What limiting beliefs are keeping you from having the right mindset? What is it that you're telling yourself that's not true, that's keeping you from going and having the success you want? If you're telling yourself, "I don't have time," or "It's too hard," or "I've tried everything," or "I'm not the type of person that can be fit." None of those things are true, but if you tell yourself those things enough, they become effectively true for you and they freeze you. And so looking at them and understanding them, that's going to help you get rid of them and replace those limiting beliefs with more empowering beliefs. I can do this. I will find a way. I can make it to my workouts. I don't have to eat these things. I will be successful this time. And you get that right mindset, and that takes you a long way towards reaching your goals. So you'll find that course within the classroom, and I encourage you to read it and look at it and listen to the videos in there and embrace that information because that's going to set you up for success, and that's going to allow you to get to where you want to go. So in this first presentation, I want to give you some tools that are going to help you because we're going into Thanksgiving, and I want to give some specific stuff about that or any holiday, and then give you some other more rounded stuff that we can go from, and then I'll go into the other weeks. I'll dive into some different things that's just going to keep you going and add to that. Um, this time of year, first of all, there's nothing wrong if your goal is just to go and have fun and do things with your family. And it doesn't mean that you have to punish yourself. Fitness should never be a punishment. It should never, if you're feeling deprived and you're feeling like, "Oh, I can't do this or I can't do that," or it's going to make it something that you dread and it's going to be part of that negative mindset that you have for it and you're not going to do it. So you can still have fun and have balance and be successful. There's no meal that you're going to eat on Thanksgiving Day that's going to stop you from reaching your goals over the next 6 weeks. There's no huge meal that you can eat that's gonna, you know, end everything. The Thanksgiving meal, the Christmas meal, lots of even the whole day, that's not going to do it. It's everything else that's going to be around it throughout the year, and that's what you have to take control of. So, I had a client once, and I was doing her program. She wanted to get ready for a fitness competition, and I It was right during the holiday seasons, it was right before Christmas, and I did her program, and I did her nutrition program, and I talked to her about it. She said, "Okay, yeah, I talked to my mom, and on Christmas Day, she's gonna fix me this, 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 and I only have that, 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 and that." And she was like really ready to like dive into it. And I had to talk to her. I said, "That's fine, but that's not necessary, really. From where you are right now, you can still eat everything your mom would normally fix for everyone else, and it's not going to stop you. It's there's no this has to be perfect all the time to be successful. You still have to live your life. If your fitness program should fit into your life, you shouldn't have to change your whole life to fit your fitness program. It is a lifestyle, and it you get there in stages. If you put your body and your mind on a kamikaze mission, then that's a recipe for disaster, and that's going to lead to a lack of success. And you see that happen all the time in the first of the year, and that's why people aren't successful with their programs. They go on this overly ambitious program, trying to go from doing nothing to doing everything, and it sets them up for failure. I remember being in Golds once. I was on the treadmill, and it was right after the holidays, and these two girls were behind me, and they're talking about their fitness program. They both just got back to the gym, said, "Yeah, I'm gonna be here every day, 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, blah, 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 blah." And that wasn't necessary. Your body can only change so fast anyway. And so they just needed to come often enough to be moving in the right direction, not so much that it had to be so overwhelming and some type of a punishment almost for the weight that they'd gained, that they're serving penance for. That, may motivate someone to get in there, and you have that mindset, but it's just not sustainable. It's like trying to sprint a marathon. I'm gonna run faster than everybody else, and I'm gonna take off and boom, 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 and you're ahead of the pack. How long are you gonna stay there? It's better to go at a pace that's going to allow you to get there all the way through. And again, the body can only change so fast. And so you have to be understanding of that. And this time of year is part of that. If you're feeling deprived and you're feeling left out and you're feeling stressed out and angry and anxious, it's going to rebound and cause you to eat in spite of yourself. And then you feel bad because, oh, I ate this and I ate that, and then you feel like a failure again, which you never were a failure. You just fed into your limiting beliefs of I can't do this or I can't stay on a diet or whatever the case may be. So there's room for you to have some fun foods. There's room for you to enjoy your family. There's room for you to still manage your life and find fitness success. The key thing I tell people is to track during this time of year. And tracking is a way to give yourself awareness. And what I mean by tracking is knowing what you're doing. So, what I tell people, and if I was going to do your diet for you, I'd say write down everything you eat and drink along with the times so you see what your body's used to. And I usually have people do that for a period of 5 days. And having that information gives you something to work with. It gives you the ability to make changes within what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you can't change anything. You don't know where the problems are. And no amount of willpower can make up for that if you don't know what you're doing and what the problem is. And I'll use an example of if you ever taken any high level math classes or any math classes, and the teacher wants you to show your work. So you don't just get the problem and then give the answer. That's great, but you may not know how understand how to do that problem properly, especially if you got it wrong. If you get the right answer, it doesn't help you. If you get the wrong answer, if you show your work and the steps with how you got to that answer, then you can go back in there and say, or and she can say, he can say, ah, that's where we made the mistake. That's where we need to correct something. By showing your work, you can change what you need to change and fix what you need to fix, and now you can understand not only how to do it, but then you can take control of it. Well, nutrition's the same way. And fitness is the same way. You have to sometimes take a snapshot of what you're doing so you can see what's going right, what maybe could be a little bit better, and what's an obvious problem. And by doing that, you give yourself control over your progress. You give yourself control over your direction and your success, and it's really powerful. And I do that even with my competitors. Like if they get stuck or plateaued or whatever, Have them take a snapshot. Okay, this for the next 3 days, track everything you're eating and drinking, give me the times, and we'll look at it. And from there we can make adjustments because the body's always changing, and what worked 3 months ago may not work right now, so it needs to be adjusted. Or maybe there's something that they're doing that I don't know that they're doing that, or they don't know that they're doing that. By tracking it, it helps. And so in any kind of diet or program, that's the first thing I have someone do is write that down and take that snapshot and see what they're doing. And I would encourage you to do that this week. And that's going to give us some information. And I'll talk next week more about what to do with that information. But first off, obviously, there's some things in there that just creates an awareness for you of where some of the problem areas are. And I'll give you an example of I had when I was training at Golds, there's a one girl she's a girlfriend of a friend of mine and really nice girl, always in the gym. And she comes up to me one day and just kind of down. Say, I don't know what to do. I'm just not getting any progress. I don't know if I need to work out longer, harder, this, that, whatever. And I said, well, it might be something with your diet. She says, no, I eat really good. It's like, I don't think it's my diet. And I'm like, well, okay. Maybe it's not, but humor me, right? Go home and write down for the next week, write down everything you eat and drink along with the times. And I'm sure it's not my diet. It's like, yeah, okay, okay, but just write it down and we'll take a look at it anyway and we'll go from there. A week later, she comes and she has this list and she's got her head down. She smiles and yeah, okay, now I understand what the problem is. And she didn't understand that before until she actually saw it in front of her. And so that's a good tool for helping you to get progress in general. But back to this time of year, there's more of those things around. The first thing you look for when you do that, even in a normal time, is those fun foods, those items that maybe aren't the best things for you. Doesn't mean you can't have them. It's just that you don't want to have them to the degree that they're keeping you from reaching your goals. And this time of year, there's more of those. So by having an awareness, by writing it down, you stay aware of what's going on. You're like, okay, I had this on this day, that on that day, this on that day, that on this day. And then it's like, whoa, okay, that's more than I thought. Because I'll tell you what, if you're like me, you could be eating things and just go blank and not even like it doesn't register, if it's pie, cool, and a cookie. Oh, walk in the kitchen, there's a cookie. Walk all the way out, there's another cookie. I mean, so if you're writing it down, having to write it down and tracking it, and you start seeing it add up, then you're starting to get a little red flag. Then you're starting to get a little heads up of what's going on. Again, it doesn't mean you can't have it. It just means that you have to be aware of it so that you can control it if it gets to be a problem. So this time of year, there's more of those things. It could be at home, it could be when you're going to an event, it could be at work, people that haven't brought anything all year long. Boom, there's Christmas cookies for everyone. Oh, here's brownies. I baked these for you. And I was the same way. Like when I was managing Gold Gym this time of year, we'd order things for the staff that have back there. There's popcorn back there. There's a bunch of cookies back there. Everyone's giving out See's candy. There's See's candy back behind the desk. There's baklava that people are bringing out. People are walking in. Oh, I baked you guys cookies. They're coming in. The cookies are still warm from the oven, right? Oh, geez, you shouldn't have. And if you know those things are going to happen, and this time of year they happen, then it's like, whoa, so that you want to be aware of them. And doesn't mean it's the worst thing in the world, but knowing what's happening, then it gives you something to work with. So that's one thing of tracking your food. And if it's too tedious to write it down, especially with your meals, just take a picture. Boom. Just take a picture so you can see it. You can track it later on. You can look at it at the end of the week and say, whoa, these are all my pictures of all the things that I was eating. Yeah, I see I need to make a few changes here and there. And again, it's not about feeling guilty or being good or bad and what one person can get away with or still have success on versus someone else may be different, but this is for you to be aware of what you're doing so that you have the tools to make the changes you want. You're seeing how you got that answer in that math problem and where you should have carry this or didn't do that or had the decimal wrong or whatever the case may be. So it allows you some tools to fix things. Another thing you want to track is your weight. A lot of people don't like weighing themselves, and I get it. You want to detach yourself emotionally from the scale. It should not cause you to go up or down from a mood standpoint. Oh, I lost weight, I'm happy. Oh, I gained weight, I'm not happy. It's information. And you don't really have like one specific weight. What we have is a weight range of 3 to 4 pounds, where we're going to weigh higher or lower depending on the time of day or the day of week or whatever the case may be. So when you weigh yourself, I would say weigh yourself on the same day each week, the same time each day, so that you have that information and you can see what your body's doing. That's information that you can use as part of your toolkit. So if you're eating all those things and the scale hasn't changed, you're like, okay, you know, you're not as worried about it. Doesn't mean you could keep eating or should keep eating them, but boom, you're not as concerned. At the same time, if you're eating those things and you see that shift in a direction you don't want to go, then you're like, okay, then you got a little bit of a heads up. Because if you don't track your weight and you gain 2, 3 pounds, but you don't know you gained 2, 3 pounds, and then next week you get another 2, 3 pounds, and next week you get another 2, 3 pounds, and you see how that adds up. Whereas if you're tracking your weight, then you say, "Oh, wait, okay, it's getting a little bit above where I want it to be. Let me back off a little bit. Let me change some things this week and get myself, back in more control." And now you have the ability to actually take the steps because you have an awareness of what the scale's telling you. Again, it's tough. Some people they get triggered by the scale, and I get that. I had one client that was so triggered by the scale, and this girl was like a national fitness champion at one time, but she didn't want to know what she actually weighed. She would actually have she'd stand on a scale with her eyes closed, have her husband look at the weight and text it to me. And it's really not the number, because the number can you can look amazing. We can look different at the same number just based on how what your body comp is. And some people weigh more and are leaner than people at the same height that weigh less. So it's not really the number that's good or bad. It's just the relative change that you have. You want to be able to track it. You want to be able to see what your body's doing. You want to be able to see what direction you're going in. If you're going in the right direction, you want to know that, and then you can make adjustments or you can keep going or adjust your speed or whatever. If you're going in the wrong direction, you want to know that too. 'Cause then you can make the changes that you need to make and shift directions. If you're going in a circle, you want to know that too. So if you don't have that information, if you're not tracking it, then you don't have the ability to course correct, and you're going to wind up. And this is what happens this time of year with people. They're not really paying attention to the foods they're eating. They're not really tracking their weight, and boom, there's that 8, 9 pounds, 6, 7 pounds, whatever the case may be, that they didn't really have to have, or maybe they could have minimized it. Maybe that instead of 7 pound weight gain, it could have been a 3 pound weight gain, just simply by being aware of it and looking at, okay, yeah, I'm getting too far. I'm eating too much of this, or wow, look at this food list. I need to make some adjustments with that. Putting yourself in control is going to give you the ability to go in the direction that you want. And then it's on the opposite side of people that don't want to weigh themselves at all is the people that can't stay off the scale. They want to do it all the time. And that can drive you crazy because there's no such thing as linear progress. Even if you're going to lose 10 pounds, it's not going to go in a straight line down. It's going to zigzag. It's going to be up, down, up, down, up, down. You're going to lose a pound, stay the same, lose another pound, gain a pound, stay the same, lose 2 pounds, gain 1 pound. That's normal. So, and throughout the course of the week, like I said, you have a weight range. You may be at different times of the week, higher or lower, and that could drive you crazy. But if you're the person that can't stay off the scale, fine. Weigh yourself every single day, same time of day. And then at the end of the week, you take the average of that, and then that's your official weight for the week. And then you can see what your body's doing. But tracking is key. Another way to track that's very good is taking your circumference measurements. measure your waist, your thighs, your hips, your chest or bust. And if you're trying to build muscle, measure arms, see what your body's doing. Sometimes the scale's only going to tell you so much. How your clothes fit's going to tell you something, but that can be relative too. The measurements will tell you something. And so that's another way to track. And that's something that I recommend people doing once a month. And so within this thing, you start right now, take your measurements. 4 weeks from now, take it again. You can see what your body's doing. And if you have a weight training program, sometimes you could be gaining weight, but you can be getting leaner. So you can see yourself shrinking in terms of your waist, in terms of certain areas, but the scale hasn't changed. It's because you built some muscle, so your body comps change. So you're actually in a good place. You're actually more fit and more healthy, but if you just only went by the scale, that scale may have stayed the same or gone up, especially if you had previously lost muscle before. So taking your measurements once a month is good. Also, pictures. Pictures can tell you so much. I remember there's a transformation competition that was going on, and one of the girls was like really not feeling that she was doing very well, and the scale hadn't moved very much, and she was getting depressed, and it wasn't working, and she was losing that dedication until she saw her pictures, a month apart, and you could see from the change in the pictures, hey, I am going in a good direction. So tracking gives you information, but it also is a little bit of a reminder this time of year to help you stay on course. Because like I said, there are more fun foods. There are more opportunities to miss those workouts. There are more opportunities to eat things that you don't normally eat. And so if you double down on tracking in terms of your weight, in terms of the scale, in terms of your circumference measurements, in terms of those different things, your pictures, that's going to keep you aware, keep you more in charge of where you're going to be. And it goes back into the first thing I said is about how important you are. You're important enough to do those things. You're important enough to take those steps. And fitness is important enough to take those steps. And if you do those things, that's going to give you some control. So specifically about Thanksgiving, again, a big mistake people make, and I want to talk about this day or any holiday is they say, okay, I'm going to go eat all this different food, so I'm going to not eat before I get there, and I'm going to just go all day not eat, and then and that's going to control my calories. Well, I would recommend, and what I've seen work best is that you eat what you would normally eat in terms of the times and in terms of your meals, because if you go all day without eating, then you're going to actually probably eat more than you would at that specific meal. And again, that meal is not going to make or break you, but if you can avoid overeating a meal that may typically be higher in calories than what you would normally eat, and you wind up getting double the amount of calories in that one meal that you have in a normal meal, that's not a meal you want to overeat on. But if you go in there and you've eaten your regular meals that you typically eat, you're not going to be able to overeat as much, even if you want to. And so that's a mistake I've seen people make too often is like, I'm just going to not eat that day, or I'm not gonna, until I go to Thanksgiving, then I'm going to power down. It makes it harder for them to stay on track. And you have to remember, your body does not want to lose weight. Your body does not want to look like the cover of a fitness magazine. It cares about survival, and survival of the fittest for your body doesn't mean who could run the fastest or jump the highest or looks like a Greek god or goddess. It's about surviving harsh conditions. It wants to conserve energy and store calories. That's what it wants to do. So any opportunity that it gets, anything that triggers it to do those things, it will gladly do those things. And so when you undereat for a while, you get hungrier and it wants to store what you give it that much more when you do eat. And so you kind of lose control. Your body produces hormones when you start losing weight and when you start like reducing your calories, your body's, oh my gosh, we might not make it. So let's produce some hormones and adjust our hormones. And there's leptin and ghrelin. One will cause you to be hungrier, it's to increase your appetite so that you eat more. Ghrelin's gonna make now you're more hungry. The other one's gonna keep you from feeling full as fast. So think of that combination. You start trying to diet, you start trying to lose weight, you lose a little weight. Now your body wants to produce hormones to get you hungrier. And also, when you eat, you don't feel as full. That's not a good combination. So people that want to diet too strictly going into the holidays, going into a day like a Thanksgiving day, that's a recipe for disaster. Now you're sitting there, you're hungrier than you normally would be, and you don't feel full as fast as you would, and that's a recipe for overeating. And so that starve yourself, eat a lot, starve yourself, eat a lot, that's a tough place to be, because then your body with this let's lower blood sugar while you're not eating. When you eat, your blood sugar shoots higher than it normally would, and your body gets rid of that excess blood sugar by storing it as fat. So now you're storing more than you would normally store. So you'd be better off eating your typical meals throughout the day that are going to help you. And next week, I'll talk more about how to fix your diet. I'll have like a structure: step one, step two, step three. That there's an article in the nutrition section in the classroom as it called "How to Fix Your Diet." And it's all the step-by-step things. But one thing I advocate is eating throughout the day, multiple meals. And we typically eat throughout the day, but some people snack and they'll have a meal and they'll have a snack, then a meal of a snack. The difference between a meal and a snack is that a meal has structure. A meal has a serving of protein with it, and along with that, it can have complex carbs, fibrous carbs, fats, or whatever the case may be. But a meal should have some source of protein every single meal that you eat. That's going to help control your blood sugar. That's going to proteins is very dense, and so it's slower to digest. That's going to make it more satiating for when you eat, so you're not gonna get hungry as fast or as soon. So it's gonna help fill you up as far as that goes, as opposed to if you just ate carbs. And so eating protein throughout the day is going to make it a lot easier for you to manage your appetite and therefore manage your calories and manage your weight than if you're not getting enough protein. And a lot of times if people aren't eating enough protein either throughout the day or throughout the week, then they don't have the body composition that would be most ideal for them, especially if they're doing some kind of weight training, because that's what the muscles are made out of. So making sure that you're having protein at every single meal is going to help you shift your body composition in a lot of ways. And one of the ways it's going to help you is kind of going to help you balance your blood sugar. It's going to help you with your appetite. And so as you go into the holiday season, as you go into that Thanksgiving, if you're having those normal meals that you would have that all have a serving of protein in them, and that could range, and that depends on, your body weight or whatever. Typically, it's at least 25 grams of protein. It could be as high as 40 or more if you have a lot of muscle, you're training hard. But that's going to allow you to stabilize your blood sugar and have a lot more control over your hunger. Then when you go to that Halloween. Still thinking about that. Then when you go to that Thanksgiving meal, you're not ravish. You're not just grabbing stuff randomly, and it's not going to have the same effect on you, even when you eat, that it would if you just had an empty stomach or you hadn't eaten all day. So still eat before you go into there. It's going to control how much you eat, and it's going to help control how what you eat affects you. That meal itself, that holiday meal, one great thing about it for a lot of people, it has is a very protein heavy meal in terms of turkey or ham or whatever the case may be. If you're vegetarian or vegan, then I suggest you find some kind of vegan protein source that you have as like the staple of that meal. But because of that, then you're going this all those other sides, they're just part of the meal. So you're going to be able to eat less of them, and they're going to have less of an effect than if you didn't have that protein and you had all those other things. If you're eating throughout the day, you're also less likely to snack. And this is what happens if you go to some of the holiday events I've been to. Yeah, there's all the calories that's going to happen during the meal itself, but then there's also this other stuff that's around during the football game. There's this big bucket of chips, and there's these cookies, and there's this, and there's that, and you didn't eat your normal meal, so now you're just it's easy to reach, it's easy to grab, it's easy to oh I'll try some of that, oh, I'll have some of that, and not really think about it. You know, that's why we want to track. That's why we want to be aware of it. That's why we say, you know what, let me make write this down. Let me take a picture. Let me take a note of what I'm doing. But better than that is if you ate, if you go into that event, but you ate your normal breakfast or lunch or whatever before you get there, then when you get there, you're not ravished. You're not like, oh gee, I shouldn't. Oh gee, thank you. Or gee, oh, that looks amazing. It's not going to affect you as much. And so by staying on track with how you're eating and also by tracking, that's going to help you manage that meal. That's a lot better. The other thing with a Thanksgiving type of a meal, and as I keep mentioning it because that's what's coming up here in the US, it's not so much the day of, it's the following days, it's the other things around it. So, how much of those things are you gonna eat? How much of that pie are you gonna eat? How long are you gonna keep that going as far as day after day after day? Eh, It depends on the person. It depends on what you want to do. If you, I love those types of foods, so I might eat them 3 days in a row, and I know the effect of that's going to be scale. Boop, it's going to go up a little bit. Okay, so I want to be aware of that so that when that does happen, if that does happen, okay, boom, have my 3 days, ate my Thanksgiving food. Now I need to like, boom, get back on track and eat a little cleaner, maybe even cleaner than I typically would eat. But sometimes just going back to how you normally do it, your body's very resilient and wants to have that homeostasis. So it's quick to go back to where you were. So if you don't keep it up, then you're going to be fine. If you're keeping the party going by, oh, you shouldn't have with the cookies that are at work, oh, you shouldn't have with, your girlfriend or husband made you this or that or bought you this or you're going out more, then those are the problems that are keeping it going. And so that's where keeping aware comes in. That's where you when you jump on that scale that Sunday morning or Monday morning and you look at it and you're like, "Oh, okay, I'll put a little bit, but I expected that from what I did," or "Damn, I really got to do something." So that's part of it. And again, those those specific days, and even the couple days after, those aren't going to make or break you over a period of 6 weeks, 8 weeks. It's what you do after that. It's what you do leading up to it and then going forward after that. And if you get back on track because you are aware, because you are tracking, because you're prioritizing yourself, because you are prioritizing your health and fitness, then you're going to be fine and you align with what your goal is. My goal is not to gain as much, or my goal is to stay the same, or my goal is to come down. So then you reiterate that why, then why you're doing it and what your goal is and what you're trying to accomplish, and understanding you're important enough to do those things. So those are some of the things around food. Desserts or some people are not triggered by desserts, and it doesn't matter. But if you're going to have a dessert, have it rarely fairly close to after your meal. You're less likely to eat more, because you're already kind of full. If you don't want to have it, don't have it. But it's better to eat it after a meal, within a half an hour, I think, because you're not going to eat as much. And if you wait 2 hours later, and then you have more room, and like, okay, that one piece of pie could turn into two, or that one piece of pie that will be very small because you're full now is a bigger piece because you're not as full. So if you're going to have it closer to your meal. It's going to because you have that protein in there already. It's going to affect you less. If it's going to be the next day and that pie is calling your name again. Turn that snack into a meal. And this is a strategy that I've used. So if I want to have that pie tomorrow afternoon or something, I'm gonna eat something with some protein first. And maybe I'd eat a turkey sandwich or something. But instead of, okay, well, I'm gonna have this pie, that's a bunch of carbs, it's a bunch of calories, whatever. So I'll just take that turkey, cut it up in a salad, boom. So I got protein, I got some greens, it's not very many calories. Then I have that pie. So then the total calories for that meal isn't as great as if as it would be if I just ate a big piece of pie. And since I have that protein in there, then it's not going to shoot my blood sugar up, and my body's trying to get that blood sugar back down by converting it into fat. So it gives you some type of ability to control your appetite and some type of ability to control the effect on your blood sugar that just eating those sugary carbs by themselves may have on you. And those things are key. They're little tools, and I'll talk more about them, and a lot of it's in the writing. But it's a problem this time of year, and it's a problem this time of year because we can't always control what's around us. If you work in a place where people are those things are there, some people have, it's not a problem and they can be immune. They'll think I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. It may not be the sweets, it may be the pizzas, it may be, the kids are home from school, now you're running out of time, you're back and forth, this, that, whatever. So you don't have time to cook, but you're grabbing pizzas for them, or you're grabbing this for them or that for them. And so you don't want to cook your own meal. So you're just grabbing this or grabbing that because you're on the go all the time. And some pre-planning, if you find yourself doing that too much, is going to go a long way in terms of, okay, I did that a couple days in a row. I need to know that I'm going to have, something for me available, that Greek yogurt, or that pre-made salad, or that rotisserie chicken, or whatever it is that's your go-to, that keeps you from going off track more than is good for you. And so it's just, again, prioritizing yourself, prioritizing and staying in touch with what it is that you're trying to do, and being aware of that at all times and being conscious of that. And that's a good foundation for this kind of year, because there's going to be these moving parts. The other moving part that's a problem for some people is alcohol. And typically speaking, it's one of those things where some people don't have a problem with it, some people don't. And there's no food that you can't have or that you have to have when it comes to a nutrition program. It's all about how much you have and how that is or is not affecting your progress. And so if you're having 2 glasses of, say, wine a week, is that going to stop you from reaching your goal? Probably not. If you're having 2 glasses of wine a day, that might be more of a problem. If you're having 2 glasses of wine an hour, then you probably have problems in addition to what the scale is telling you. But just it's, again, it's about how much and how often that you're doing those things. Because with alcohol, alcohol is this like a special category. For example, a gram of protein has 4 calories, a gram of fat has 4 calories. Excuse me, a gram of fat has 9 calories, a gram of carbs has 4 calories, a gram of alcohol has 7 calories. So it's much more calorically dense and closer to fat than to carbs or protein. So it really builds up fast in terms of how many calories you have. And if you're having some kind of mixed drink, and depending on what's in that drink, that's even more calories. So there's a lot of calories in that liquid drink. So that's one problem, because it's really easy to drink a lot of calories, and it's real easy to add those extra calories to something that you're not really that much aware of. So that tracking is going to help you. And the other problem with alcohol is your body doesn't really know what to do with it. It doesn't process it very well. It treats it as a sugar, but separately, because of the way it affects your metabolism and your physiology. So what your body does when you drink alcohol is it pretty much focuses on processing and clearing out the alcohol, and it stops this normal calorie burning processes for the food that you're eating to focus on that alcohol. So you've been eating these calories and you're wanting your body to burn them, process them, utilize them, but then drinking that alcohol stops that process, pauses it while it focuses on that alcohol. So it's a little bit of a double whammy. Not only is you have the extra calories from the alcohol, but now you have it interfering with your body's ability to process the other calories that you've been eating. So it can really add up fast in terms of sticking you. And so I try to give people a visual with alcohol. I say, like, think of that glass of wine, every drink you have, think of it as like a liquid donut. If you're on a fitness program, especially on a weight loss, weight management program, how many donuts could you eat before that got to be a problem? And so if you think of it differently, because it's then maybe that gives you like, yeah, this you're looking at it, do you really need it? Do you really want it? So again, it's not doesn't mean you can't have it, but you definitely need to be aware of it so that you can take control of it. And that's going to go a long way towards helping you to be successful, just being aware of that alcohol. So that's a key thing. So in terms of nutrition, those are some things that you want to look at. Those are some things you want to take charge of. And so let's talk about exercise. And I'm gonna get into more specifics of exercise and things that are going to help you with that. This time of year can be easier or harder depending on what your life and what your schedule's like. If you're traveling, then especially if you're out of town, you may be away from your gym and you may be away from your normal equipment. So that's a challenge for you because you don't have that same ability to go get those workouts in. So you have to make some arrangements. You have to like, either find a local gym or take some bands with you. You can do effective workouts just with body weight or just with very minimal equipment right at home or right wherever you happen to be, in your hotel room, whatever it is. So you don't want to have the limiting belief of, oh, I'm out of town, I can't work out, or I can't do what I typically do. I can't have my hour workout, my this day, that day, whatever day. You can still do something that is going to help you manage your weight. It could be as boring as I would say boring. It could be as non-spectacular as just jogging in place and push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, jumping rope, marching in place if you don't want to the shock, whatever it is, if you have some kind of home equipment, exercise bikes or treadmills, whatever, it may not always be glamorous, but it can still be effective in terms of making sure that you get it in. So your training is something that you could also track and reward yourself for staying as consistent as you can possibly stay. So, like, keep it on your calendar. I worked out today, boom. And then Tuesday I worked out, boom. Wednesday I worked out, boom. This day. So just seeing how that you checked it off and you did something. And it could be that walk in the morning. It could be, some kind of class that you take. It could be, watching something on TV and working along with that or on YouTube or whatever. Just something that is a go-to for you that may be outside your norm because now you don't have the same time. Like, for example, I take my niece to school every day during school times. And once I drop her off, I take a walk for a couple miles usually. That's part of my routine, and then I come back and do work with that. Well, since I'm not dropping her off in the morning, I don't typically take that morning walk. So I know I'm gonna need to make up for that somewhere else. Now I still work out my other separate workout from that, but that's kind of something that now is taken off the board during times when she's out of school. So I know that, I understand that. And that may be the way with you, like I mentioned before, this time of year, you may have been walking after dinner, all the time, and now it's darker, it's colder, it's rainier, it's more miserable. You ain't trying to go out there, you ain't trying to go to the gym, so you have to be aware of that. So keeping aware of how often you're training and not making it all or nothing is key. So that exercise matters. That it keeps your metabolism going. It keeps you energized. It's part of your fitness program. It's part of you're taking control and you're investing in yourself. And this is an easy time of year to slack off from that. For some people, you have more available time and it's easier to dive into it and do what you want to do. But just be aware, gym hours are changing. Sometimes the gyms are closing earlier that day and you have less of an ability to get there or you don't have childcare, so that may affect what you're doing. So manage those things. I had one friend who had been a high level fitness girl, and then when she had children, her schedule got so tight that she didn't feel she had the ability to work out anymore. And it was an all or nothing thing because in her head, working out meant an hour and a half, a day, 5 days a week. That's what she was used to. And that was a limiting belief for her because that wasn't what she needed to do. She just needed to do 20, 30 minutes, 3 or 4 days a week. if that, or even just a couple days a week to start back in, to start going in the wrong in a better direction. Because we tend to think it's all or nothing. I got to go all in. I got to go on this perfect diet. I have to go on this intense training program. No, you just have to do enough to get your body going in the right direction. You have to do sometimes, and if you're a little bit up, you have to maybe do a little bit more than you were doing to compensate for it. So if your diet is a little bit looser now, you may be able to compensate for that by burning a few extra calories with an extra workout or two, or a little bit longer, or a little bit more cardio, a little bit more weights, whatever it is. We kind of help balance that out. If if your workouts are on point, that's kind of tends to make it easier to eat better. If your workouts are missing, then you know, okay, I'm not working out as much. I really got to watch my calories now because I'm not burning as much as I used to burn. So you have some kind of control. There's an interplay with it. So yes, it's about calories in versus calories out, but the calories out part of the equation is a moving target. So it changes based on a lot of different factors. So you're the more you work out and the types of workouts you do can affect the calories out, how many calories you're burning. Even how you're eating can affect how many calories you're burning. Because if you undereat, your body is going to burn fewer calories. So I tell people all the time, overeating can cause you to gain weight, but undereating can keep you from losing weight. So you don't want to go and try to like, I'm going to eat a lot of food towards the end of the week, so I'm going to starve myself earlier in the week because again, no, your body's going to is trying to survive. So it's going to like slow down your metabolism and conserve energy and not burn as many calories while you're taking in fewer calories. And then instead of burning more again while you're eating more, it's gonna first try to store them, like, oh, like it's hibernating for the winter or something, and it wants to make sure that you don't starve to death. Again, your body doesn't want to look like a fitness magazine. Your body doesn't want to be, this perfect specimen. It just wants to look like Dom DeLuise, the comedian back in the day, were just nice, as well as like Santa Claus. That's what your body wants to look like, jolly and round and ho ho ho, and it's got stored fuel and it's the metabolism slow and it's not burning any energy. That's like turning off all the lights in the house. That's a happy body. That's a survived body. That's not the body that's going to help you survive if you're like running from lions and tigers and bears, but in a civilized society, we're not running from lions and tigers and bears. The fast food place on every corner. So it's it's a misfit in terms of the times because back in the day when you we it was no guarantee you're going to eat that day. Our bodies got really good at our ancestors' bodies got really good at conserving energy and storing calories from the little bit of food that it had because it didn't know for sure when it was going to get food again. Well, we've inherited that. Our bodies are still good at storing calories and conserving energy to the point where it super compensates and it wants to store too much body fat. That's how our bodies work. So we have to be aware of it and be able to work with it. And one of the final things I'll say, because I don't want this one to be too long, that's why we're doing this in over a period of weeks, is we can be undernourished and overfed, and that happens a lot. So even this time of year, so even if you're eating extra calories, your body doesn't just need calories, it needs nutrients. It needs protein, carbs, fats, vitamins, and minerals in a certain amount of each. And it's hard to get the nutrients we need just from food, especially if you're dieting, especially if you've seen that scale go up and now you're going to cut back and reduce your calories. And it's harder to get the nutrients in that you need. So I personally believe in taking high quality nutritional supplements to help with that and help manage your not just your weight, but your health to have optimum health. The most if you look at something like the RDA, that's a minimal amount of vitamins and minerals that your body would need to keep you free of some certain specific diseases, like the minimum amount of vitamin C you need to keep from getting scurvy, the minimum amount of vitamin D to keep you from getting rickets, the minimum amount of vitamin A to keep from getting beriberi. Well, we don't want a minimum amount, we want an optimum amount. And that's going to allow you to live longer, healthier, and stronger, and have the metabolic process that your body really needs to thrive. And so look at that and I would strongly suggest using some kind of high quality nutritional supplements, and I'll talk more about ones that I like, but you could use what you like to help with that. and being aware of being healthier, not just how you look, but how you feel, how you function, and how your body works. Because the body is very adaptive. And so what happens is you can have a 3,000 caloric equilibrium body. That means that it takes 3,000 calories just to keep you the same. I've been there. There was a time when I was taking in 4,000 calories a day trying to gain and still wasn't gaining. But if you reduce your calories a lot, you can turn that 3,000 calorie equilibrium body into a 2,000 calorie or a 1,000 calorie equilibrium body because your body adapts down to you taking food away from it. And as you take those calories down, you're also taking the nutrients down. And that's what happens with people when they're dieting really hard. I'm going to go on this diet and I'm going to lose all this weight because I'm cutting my calories and maybe I'm reducing my calories. Then I'm going to lose, but your body's not going to do allow you to do that. So it's going to start slowing down your metabolism to catch up with the minimal amount of calories that you're giving it. And now you have a body that's only burning that 1,200 calories a day that you're giving it, and when and if you start eating higher again, that metabolism is going to catch up so fast. And so you start rebounding. So you force yourself to lose this weight by cutting your calories to the point where you lost some weight, but then you plateaued because your metabolism suppressed itself enough and shot up and shot down, and now you're eating again because you were doing it in a way that wasn't sustainable. And so it kind of like just like almost like holding your breath for as long as you can. So now you're back to eating normal. And guess what? You have a slower metabolism than you had before. So even though you're eating less calories than you were before you started dieting, now you're gaining weight back again. And that could go on for a while. And you get to the point where you're yo-yoing all the time. And I've seen people lose 30, 40 pounds and then gain back 35, 45 pounds. And I've seen them do that multiple times. And that's how you go about dieting and if you're dieting in the wrong way. So you want to diet on as many calories as possible as opposed to a few. You don't you don't want to diet too aggressively at any one time. Don't reduce your calories more than 10, 15% total at any one time, or else it's too much. And it's just going to suppress your metabolism and make it harder for you to get there in the long run. Like, again, like trying to sprint that marathon. The gun goes off and you're going to run as fast as you can, where you're not going to get to the end. You got to run at the pace that's going to allow you to be successful. And those are some tips that I can give you. The same thing with your training. Don't go in there and think you have to do everything. You don't have to go from doing nothing to doing everything. I've been working out in a long time, so I'll just go and start this 6 day a week program, and I haven't done any cardio in 4 months, but I'm going to go and start with this hour a day on the treadmill. Your body's only going to change so fast and it's only going to lose body fat so fast. You don't need to do that much. You just need to do enough to get you going in the right direction, start getting you some progress, and then you add more in layers as you need to when you need to keep yourself going, whether you're adjusting your diet slightly and bringing calories down, whether you're adding more exercise or changing the types of exercise that you're doing. That's going to allow you to be successful. And the final tip I'll give you is this time of year, it's harder to stay motivated when it's dark outside and when it's cold outside and when there's so many different things going on. So having some type of accountability partner, having someone that you're doing this with can go a long way. If your kids are home from school, get one of them to work out with you. You know, your spouse, get them to work out with you. One of your friends, get them to work out with you. Or if they're not in town, fine. Just know that you're both doing it. You both have your goals. This is my goal. This is your goal, and keep in touch with each other. Be accountable. And that's what this group is for. That's what this is about. So I think it's going to be a week 4 where we're going to kind of like do a lot of Q&A, and you can ask questions anytime, either on here or like message me or whatever. But we're going to do like, what problems are you seeing? What problems are you having? And it's better to have someone that's going to be with you, and it could be a class, a group exercise class that you like. There's a lot of energy in group exercise class. There's a lot of support. I've never done CrossFit, but I'm a huge fan of CrossFit in terms of the environment, how supportive it can be to have people out there that are pulling for you and going against you. And you need to, that's what community is about. That's what this group is about. We want to have a supportive community of people that care about you and care about your goals and help you to care about yourself. That's powerful. that could be magical for you. That could be the difference maker for you. I've had a lot of clients come to the gym just because I was going to be there waiting for them and encouraging them. They already know how to do the exercises. They already had a program. They didn't need me to be there for them, but it helped them to have that accountability. It helped them to have someone, to work with them, to have that teammate. And I'm used to having teammates from all the sports that I played. And yeah, you can practice on your own, do all those things. And if you love something that clicks, but man, when I train with my friends, it's even more energy. So if you have that, or you can create that, or you're having a problem, getting started or staying with it, getting someone that can be accountable to you and you can be accountable to them, that's going to be that could be a huge factor for you in terms of your success. So again, there's a few things that you can do to go into this week and to kickstart this. Track what you're doing, be aware of it, have a reason, understand how important you are and how important fitness is. Have some specific goals and things that you're trying to accomplish, and then be positive about it. Believe in your success, believe in your value, and look at the tools. Nothing's going to make or break you. Get back on the horse. If you had a couple bad eating days, okay, fine. Can't do anything about the past. You can go forward into the future and say, okay, now I'm gonna make adjustments. Oh, I see what the scale says. Yeah, I know why. Okay, now I can change that because I'm aware of it. If you weren't aware of it, you couldn't do anything about it. But just staying aware of it, now you're driving. Now you're in control. Fitness is a lifestyle. It's a journey. It's not linear. There's ups and downs and stops and starts. As long as you keep coming back and keep believing in yourself and keep trying to figure it out, you're going to make it one step at a time, eating that elephant one bite at a time, and try to enjoy it as much as you can. And we'll talk more about all those things. I know it's gone past an hour, and it's hard for me to explain all the things that you couldn't get from following a fitness lifestyle if you've never experienced those things before. So I ask you to trust me and believe that it's going to be more than worth it in so many different ways. And I was able to understand it from playing other sports and going through injury after injury after injury, and going from being able to do so much on one day to like a day later, like hobbling around or being on crutches or can't get up, a flight of stairs or get from point A to point B. So it's to go from being so capable to being like not able to do things. That was huge, and working to get back to where I could do those things. So now I'm very appreciative of the longevity that I've had by following this fitness lifestyle. It wasn't what I started out to do. Oh, I'm going to do this so I can live longer and be healthy and do this and do that, whatever. It's not a very glamorous, sexy thought, but over time, you see the value in that. Over time, you see how powerful that is. And that leads back into how important how important fitness is. And if you tie that into how important you are, and then you get the right mindset, say, okay, these things are huge. I'm important, and fitness is important. So I need to find a way to do this, and I can do this. I'm going to believe in my success, and I'm going to take the right steps. And if I take the wrong steps, then I'm gonna figure that out. I'm gonna know that, and then I'll start taking better steps. So doing those things is going to allow you the success that you're going to have. I hope this helps you. I'm excited that you're here. I see Leah, I see you, Heather, and I know a lot of people schedule wise. This is tough, so this replay will be out. Almost most of you will watch it in the replay. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, and I will be happy to answer those. And you can put those in the chat or just come on camera and say hi and do it that way. I'll hang out for a little bit. Um, Actually, what I'll do is I'll stop the recording, and so if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. So hang on here. But for you guys that are watching this, thank you very much. I will let you know when the next presentation will be, and I will see you then. And keep believing in yourself.